Bill Carroll, Zenny62 Media. I am working my way through that very long watch list of players I have targeted for the upcoming 2024-25 football season, and of course, the draft to follow. Also, I will be, at least for one day, at Big Ten Media Day in Indianapolis, Indiana. I am in the process of putting my arrangements together. Maybe more than one day, but at least one day, so I'll have some more on that later. But back to today. One is a player who's transferred, moving up from FCS to FBS, and the other one is a player who is, at least thus far, staying and sticking at Division II. I'll start with Ty French. Ty French was a guy that played at times with his hand in the dirt, sometimes standing up in his time at Gardner-Webb, where he was absolutely dominant. Of course, the COVID year, they did have a 4-game season, and he was right out of the box, Big South Defensive Freshman of the Year, coming up from Colquitt County High, which of course is a powerhouse program, Moultrie, Georgia. Was a guy had 35 total tackles, was third in the conference in tackles. He also had 4 sacks, 8 tackles for loss. Once again, in just 4 games, also had 10 pressures in just 4 games. Broke up a pass, blocked a kick, forced a fumble, recovered a fumble, and a partridge in a pear tree. He just had an absolutely amazing 4-season COVID freshman year. Then his second freshman year at Gardner-Webb was all Big South first team at defensive end. Was a sophomore All-American, 8.5 sacks, 14.5 tackles for loss, 61 total tackles, 14 hurries. Wasn't much he didn't do. In his final 4 games that season, had 7 sacks and 10 tackles for loss. Closed out strong. Had at least 1 sack in 4 consecutive games in that stretch. Had a big game against NC&T. Had 9 tackles against them. Had 9 tackles against Georgia Southern. Playing up a level of competition against Georgia Southern. Then, in his redshirt sophomore season of 2022, was a finalist for the Buck Buchanan Award, Ted Hendricks Award. Just, once again, just ridiculous. 12.5 sacks in 14 games. Had 11.5 sacks in conference. Set a league record. Had 75 total tackles, 16 tackles for loss, an interception, and a forced fumble. 4.5 of his sacks came in 3 games against FBS opponents. Once again, playing up in competition. Had a streak of 3 straight games with 2 sacks at one point. Then in his last year at Gardner-Webb, was, I think, one of the best players in all of FCS on any side of the ball. Was once again a Buck Buchanan Award finalist. He was, at that point, became a 4-time all-conference awardee. Had set the record for the school in sacks with 34.5 sacks and 61 tackles for loss in his 4 seasons at Gardner-Webb. And remember, one of those seasons was a 4-game season. 125 solo tackles in his career, 239 total tackles in those 41 games. And had 22.5 tackles for loss in that season. Just nothing he didn't do. Also had 5 pass breakups that year, forced 3 fumbles, which was number 7 in all of FCS, and decided, he conquered all the things he could do at that level, climbed all the hills, transferred to West Virginia, where he's listed as a spur, which means he's going to play a hybrid, sort of star. He's going to play a little bit, not just standing up, but at times be in coverage in the secondary, in the sort of middle part of the field. At times he's going to be probably do what he does best, put his hand in the dirt, and then at times play like a combination, nickel linebacker / slot corner. And he's such a good athlete. I could see him playing it off. He's probably about 224 pounds, about 6 feet and 3/8, and I'm guessing he runs in the low to mid 4.6s. I am excited about what Ty French does in the West Virginia defense. And then a player who's, once again, a kid from this area, from the south suburbs of Chicago, who made his way to Lenoir-Rhyne, which is one of the top programs in Division II, and has had a really great career, is Andre Jefferson Jr. He was an All-American last year. He tied the Lenoir-Rhyne record, which has some good players, for 24 tackles for loss. 13 of those were sacks, and 5 of them came in playoff games. So he had a really strong stretch towards the end, once again, against good teams. 5 sacks in three playoff games. Had a monster game against a very good Valdosta State game in a regional final. We had 4 tackles for loss. Just a terrific player. 58 total tackles, and he plays 3 technique. Now, will he be able to stay that? He's playing at about 276 or so pounds and about 6 feet and 5/8. And the question is, do you tell him to try to get into the 280s, low 290s and stay a 3 tech? Does he maybe end up going the other direction and dropping weight and try maybe to move or become like a move around, 5 tech, 4-eye, even maybe play some true defensive end? That's the big question for him. I'm very excited about what the future holds for him as well. Got a chance to see him a little bit in high school, and he's grown, not just physically, but his technique and understanding of the game has just improved so much, which you expect. But he's got another year to really show what he can do. These are 2 players I truly believe have a strong possibility. In case of Ty French, a really good chance of being drafted, probably day 3, but if he has a monster year, could push his way into day 2. And once again, apologizing ahead of time to Jim Nagy, if I'm able to get the Senior Bowl to notice Mr. Andre Jefferson Jr., and he gets there, if he's invited to the Senior Bowl, he could push his way into the draft. Once again, Bill Carroll, working through my watch list, City 6U Media. I will be back again tomorrow with at least 2 more prospects, and I will see you